Today on TWiP Apps, the iOS app Priime may change how you look at image editing on your iPhone completely. This is TWiP Apps Priime. Exposure correction, highlight recovery, color corrections, color shifts, vintage looks, lifted blacks, blown out whites, all capabilities found in any number of iOS apps today. But how do you settle on a true look that defines your photography? Professional photographers develop their own look through many years of editing thousands, even tens of thousands of photos. A particular look may be comprised of dozens, if not hundreds, of individual adjustments and corrections. Today's app, Priime, takes the combined knowledge and experience of dozens of professional photographers and assembles their looks into simple, one-tap styles that you can easily apply to your photos. Priime even analyzes your image and suggests styles that may fit your particular photo best. Designed by photographers for photographers, Priime is a deceivingly simple app that may very well change how you look at image editing on your iPhone completely. This is TWiP Apps. Welcome back to another episode of TWiP Apps. I'm your host, Photo Joseph, and today my guest is Arthur Cheng with a company and product known as Priime. Arthur, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad you can make it. So give us a little bit of an overview. We'll get to the product itself, but first let's start with the company itself. So the company itself is called Priime, right?
It is.
Okay.
It is their name. We are a team of 5 right now. It's pretty small, 4 co-founders. We are all, we started back in 2014 in August, so not too long ago. We are all photographers and actual photographers. We've shot commercially, events, weddings. We've shot everything from, little kids' parties to huge, massive commercials that are on national TV.
Wow.
Also, all our friends are actually professional photographers or freelancers. And so, we're like real photographers, and which is kind of cool. We're able to build products around these photography products with our understanding of technology and our experience with startups as well. So our background is all in software development, design, and we've done a lot of startups in the past. And a lot meaning most of them failed, but there's a few good ones here and there. We set out doing Priime because we knew there was sort of this hole in especially mobile apps for photo editing. And I think one of the biggest things was there was this disconnect between editing your photo and sort of this collaborative, human element that I think is really important in photography, especially today. And what that means is the traditional sort of filters that you would use are named things like, letters like C2 or sepia or vivid or something weird. But none of these sepia filters are ever used in modern day photography. And so us being photographers ourselves and having some of the best amazing photographer friends in the world just sitting next to us, we thought, why not build a better way to edit photos with this human collaborative touch to it, such that when you're editing a photo, you're editing it in a way that a professional photographer has edited their photo in a commercial or personal project that they already have a lot of people who follow them. So these photographers are highly influential for very good reasons. They're incredibly talented, but also extremely nice people. And so when you meet them, you're just I want to be your friend. And so we very much wanted to kind of bring sort of those people in to help develop these filters. And so that's sort of the genesis of how we started Priime. And today we have a app for the iPhone, and we just released the Mac app as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Usually I have to ask a whole bunch of questions. That was easy. I just sat back and you just gave me everything that I needed.
Cool.
Perfect.
Glad that worked out.
You've done this before, haven't you? So what is your role in the company?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO, which means I answer a lot of emails. But also, so I run the company with my co-founders. We spread the duties around as a small team. So I do all the business duties, but also I develop a lot. So I helped develop the image processing code, and whatever else is needed.
Okay, fair enough. And then you said it's on iOS for iPhone. Is it iPad as well, or is this iPhone only?
It works on the iPad, but it's not currently optimized for the iPad.
Okay, so it's just scaling up.
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
For now. So iPad is something that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Sure.
And what about Android?
Not yet. The team is so small; it's just hard to spread ourselves too thin. Obviously, at some point, we would definitely want to go towards Android as well.
Sure. Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, we're going to get into the demo, and I think maybe we'll have to have you on another time to show us the Mac apps, because that's exciting that there's
totally
a partner app to do it. Right on. Okay. Well, let's just jump into it. So now we've got the iPhone on screen here, and give us a tour. What are we looking at?
Yeah, sure. So here's sort of some of my favorite photos I've taken recently. I will show you guys sort of what the styles are. So we call them styles. They work like filters, but we call them styles because there's a lot more than just like color correction that's happening. As you'll see here, this is a photo I took. This is actually an iPhone shot, and I'll tell you how I took it later. But what happens is I'm going to hit the middle button here, and it's going to take me to styles. And it's really fast. It'll analyze the photo, and it will basically tell you in this mode suggested styles that you should use. And so if I tap one, the first one, Crystal, you'll see that there's a face, and that's Tyson Wheatley. And you can see that it changed. So I'm going to long press on the photo to show you the original. And so you can kind of tap that. And then if you tap the actual person's face, or you can hit info that you can see down there, it will bring up this information about what the style is. So you can really read about it. So you can see there's Tyson's information. Crystal's a complement to his alpine style, et cetera, et cetera. It's useful for vibrant colors, blue-green shadows. And at the bottom here, you'll see a couple examples of photos that we've used to develop the style of his. So it brings like this immediate sort of human element to your editing. And so, there's a few other ones.
So
this one actually,
that fellow that was in there, is kind of, this is his inspired style. He helped develop the style. Is that how the idea there?
Exactly. So I can kind of talk to that a little bit. So each style we've developed with the photographer, and we call them our style authors. And it's usually a style that they've developed throughout their lives, for their career, for their work, for specific things. And what we do is actually each style, when you apply it, it's all of his edits. You go from an original photo all the way to the end edit. And so for example, Tyson, he can shoot all his photos, and in one tap, he gets all his edits. There are like some 1,000 different edits that happen.
Wow.
Brightness, contrast, HSL tools, everything.
Okay.
And so one of our missions is that we want to make photography more accessible to everyone. And I think this is a way to like allow people to kind of skip the crazy sliders in HSL and be able to edit very quickly with one tap. And so our understanding of like his style, like what he looks for, what he wants his skies to do, really helps us allow people to edit just like that.
Got it.
So these styles are very powerful. And so we always cringe at calling them filters because they do so much more. And they're so much more representative of the overall style of a person.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. Thanks.
Yep. Sure. So that's the styles. There's a bunch. There's this list. There's categories that we have. And so you can see there's different ones, like landscape is one, and you can just cruise through these forever. And you can see they do very, very different things.
So how many styles do you get with the app?
So you get about 15 for free. There's a starter pack of 8, but we have a total of 105 currently. And there are a lot. Yeah. But because we have this better organizational like categories and suggestions, we hope that it's not too overwhelming. We also have like favorites. So I have a list here of my favorite ones that I use the most.
Okay.
And so there's different ways to organize it, but 105 presets. They're also all available on the Mac.
Nice.
And so you basically have all of that there too.
And what is the cost for the full pack?
The full pack right now is $10.99.
Okay.
That price goes up and down depending on sales, but
Sure.
it's been around $10.99 so far.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Cool. I wanted to show you a adjustment tool. We're really proud of these adjustment tools. Like I said, we're all photographers. We know what we want in terms of these adjustment tools. A lot of times you'll get apps that have, for example, like a white balance tool, and they build it perfectly with an engineering spec. But in the real world, when you're shooting with your phone or your DSLR, you don't necessarily want things to be like shifted completely orange or completely yellow.
I always say that the right white balance is not necessarily the best white balance. Just because it's accurate doesn't mean that it's good.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things that we wanted to do is build, for example, better tools. And so we actually rebuilt every tool from scratch, the exact way that we want it.
Wow.
So here's a good example of a white balance tool. So I'm going to go over here to the warmth tool. So we call it warmth, just kind of warm it up. And so what's really interesting here is in this photo, before I start editing it, you can see that the blues in the sky and the water are very blue. And then there's this really warm light on the bridge. And one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that the white balance tool doesn't let you shoot yourself in the foot, meaning like it doesn't kill the photo completely. You can, but it helps you out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the slider all the way to the extremes. So if I go super cool all the way down, you can see it is much cooler, but there is the warm colors in the horizon.
Yeah, it's protected
and
those.
For the lights. And then on the other extreme, yes, it's really orange, but you can see in the sky, it's still bluish. So it's more natural. It's not like, it's not just like a blue photo.
Right.
And so we're really proud of these tools that we have. It's really hard to show, but the slider has sort of a scrubber motion. So it's really fast at first, but as you drag your finger up, you can get really like fine movements here.
Oh, okay. Kind of like scrubbing a podcast or something, or a video.
Exactly.
You move your finger farther away from the playhead and it slows down. You get more fine-tuned accuracy. Great. That's really nice to see.
Yeah, totally. So there's a lot of adjustment tools there, and you can play around with that a lot. We can zoom out into our album so you can see more.
You're just pinching in and out?
I am pinching, yes. There's also these plus minus buttons on the bottom right you can see. That'll also zoom in and out. Let's see, some other features that are really cool. We do have history. I know that Lightroom has a nice history tool, so like you can kind of see all the tools that you've put together, or all the adjustments you have. So let's see, this one probably has a few. Oh, okay. So there's a few things. So every time you add something, you can you'll see them in this list. So if I add a little brightness to this photo, you'll see it in the history there. Mm-hmm. And you can actually minimize that so you can see it. So yeah, so you can kind of like really quickly tap through your history. Another really cool thing is when you save a photo now, we can save the photo in place, which is the one on the bottom. So what this is that it allows you to save the photo without creating a copy of it in your camera roll. And so it really utilizes Apple's new sort of like save in place. And the thing is, like, people are a little scared that it erases their original, but it doesn't.
Right.
It preserves
even from the
photo.
Photos app, you can hit revert and get back to your original picture.
That's exactly right. And also here, you can go back to the original photo as well.
Right.
Yep. And sort of probably the last sort of cool feature that's worth mentioning is we can do batch editing. So you could copy and paste your edits. So for example, let's look at if there's how many edits are here. So you can see there's a bunch of edits in this photo, and I can actually hit the top right. There's a select button, and I can select this guy, and I hit copy edits, and I can select the other photos I want to paste it to. So these photos are actually really big 42 megapixel images. So I'm pasting this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pasting the 5 photos. Takes a few seconds, 42 megapixels.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So you're working with the full resolution image. You're not downsampling it. Okay, so then when you export it out, you're exporting out your full resolution as well?
That's right.
That's impressive. A lot of apps we've come across are definitely downsampling just for performance, and they downsample to 2048 or 4096, and obviously you're losing a lot of resolution that way.
Yep, exactly. So there, it's done. It took a while, as you could see.
I wouldn't call that a while. That's pretty good for 42 megapixel 5 images.
Yeah. So all the history is here now. So you can see that it works. So one of the reasons why we do this is because as photographers, we never want our photos to be downsampled or resized.
Absolutely.
Especially for us. So we made it a point that when we save the photo, it's max resolution. You can throw 60 megapixel, 100 megapixel if you have the means to, and we can save it. The technology in there is really interesting if you guys are interested.
Please.
The iPhone GPU can only hold a certain size image at once. But what we're doing is we're tiling up the edits. And so you can edit as big of a photo as you want. It just might take some time and burn some battery. But for me personally and a lot of my friends, it's worth it. Like,
absolutely.
I'll wait.
Yeah, of course. That's impressive. Okay. Well, now I really want to see this on the iPad. I've got iPad Pro here, and
sure.
that's got a heck of a lot of power to it. Obviously, a nice big screen. To be able to do this kind of editing directly on here would be fantastic. So please, please work on that, and make sure it's iPad Pro size, not just regular iPad. We need the Pro size.
Yep. Gotcha. We do have a test device at our office, so excellent. Things are in motion.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. That is very cool. It's a beautiful app.
Yeah.
Nice and simple. Now, the presets, obviously there's a bunch in there. It sounds like you're adding more all the time. Is that something that you just add extra packs? So whatever, a couple of months or a year, whatever, there'll be another pack you'll be able to buy with a bunch more looks. Not presets, sorry.
Styles,
thank you. A bunch more styles. That's something you're doing?
A little bit. I think our goal is less about pumping out new styles all the time. I think our goal is more reflecting sort of like what's used today, modern day styles. So what will happen is some of the styles that are older, aren't used anymore, will be sort of like sunsetted, meaning if you've bought it, you'll always have it, but we'll be replacing them with newer versions of it, newer styles that our style authors want to use, or a lot of their styles evolve. Like everyone sort of evolves over time, every month, every year, what have you. And so there will be new versions coming out, and they'll be coming out as basically new styles. So we're trying not to increase the number too much, but it's not sort of the goal to just pump out thousands of styles. It's sort of like, let's make the styles that are most used in today's photography. And so if our style author does have like a new shoot that they've done. So for example, Michael O'Neill, one of our style authors, he photographed for Vogue, and we have a fashion style based on his edits from that. And it's just a whole new way that he edited. And he was like, I really like the way I edit here. Can you guys make a style for me so I can use it? And I think in that case, we would add a new one.
Okay.
Yeah. And that kind of brings up a really cool point. It's like the style authors actually use these things in the field for their work. It's not purely like a representation of what they do and it's a toy. No, it's actually used in their real work, which is really, really amazing for us that we are able to create a simple but powerful tool that even pros can use.
Absolutely. Well, very good. I love it. So now your pros that are doing the work and they're coming up with their own styles, are they developing those styles in the app itself, or is they're in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever app they're using, and then they say, hey, this is the style, please go figure out how to replicate this inside of Priime?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The process, I hope one day we'll make a video of it, but the process is really neat. It's sort of this combination of like science and art and smashing those things together. And what we do is we take so in the beginning we take a photographer's portfolio or like their Instagram feed, for example, and we look for specific styles that they have. Some photographers know, they're like, this is my style. These are really bright photos, et cetera, and their portraits, and this is my style. But some other photographers don't actually know, but they have it. Everyone has a style. So we, meaning Priime, actually picks out their styles for them sometimes, unless they're very good at picking them out themselves. And what we do is we talk to them about it. We say like, hey, what are the important things and properties of your style? And they can say, for example, we have a style called Cathedral. I can bring it up really quick on the screen, just so we have a talking point.
Yeah, please.
So it's by Jessica Zollman. Where are you? Cathedral. Yeah, so Cathedral, for her, you can see in the photo already, it's like amazing for bright whites. And some of the things that she talks about in this one is that it's great for design and architecture, white and gray backgrounds, and good on skin tones. And so you can see like there's some skin tones in there, and everything's white. And if you look at the whites, they're kind of like on the cooler side. The warm colors are a little bit desaturated. And so you can see there's a lot of little bits in there that they speak to. And so we record all that, we write all of it down. And then what we do is we take the original photos and we compare them to the final photos. And then we do this, we meaning Priime actually does this magic behind the scenes, which is a combination of looking at or recreating their edits within like Lightroom and Photoshop, and then actually putting it in our code that does like the rest of it. And so we do have sort of this mapping between things like tone curves and HSL, but at the end of the day, we do have like our own way of editing the photos in our own code. And we're actually able to do a few little things that are really, really hard to do in Lightroom. So like we can touch just the highlights of the midtones, for example, which is like a subset of a subset. So yeah, it takes us maybe, originally Cathedral took us about a month or two to develop. And Cathedral was the first style we've ever made. And then now it's taking us about a week or two to develop a style. So it's a very, it's a big process. It's a really fun process of working with a photographer, showing them drafts of the style, saying like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, well, I think the skin tone should be a little less green, maybe a little more reddish tinted. And so we go back and forth, and eventually we either have completely replicated their style or we've created a new style for them that they actually love. And so it's a really great process, and it's not easy. Each style is easily over 1,000 different edits all in one.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Well, very cool. I can't wait to dig into it and start playing with it myself. This is a
awesome.
Impressive app. And so it's free to download. You get, was it 8 or 15 styles that you get?
You get 8 as a starter pack, but there's a few free ones that you can like purchase.
Right.
And those include like the Everlane pack, which is a style pack created by the brand Everlane. They use that to shoot a lot of their assets. And we have a couple other ones that are free. So you'll see those. There's about 15 total free ones.
Okay. Very good. Right on. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off of screen here. Just go back to us. And that is, again, very impressive app. So thank you for showing us that. And I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to the iPad version as well. And of course, on macOS 10, it'll be fun to play with that on there too. And you said it's basically the same feature parity between the iOS and the macOS version?
The Mac is a little bit different. It hooks into Lightroom as a plugin. It also hooks in as a Photos app extension.
Nice.
And it works standalone. There's a couple other differences. It does work with RAW files. I think almost every RAW file it can work with. And
it's using macOS's RAW engine.
We actually do a lot of the RAW handling ourselves as well.
So then, I wanted to focus on the iOS app, but since we brought it up, let's talk about it a little bit. If you're doing your own raw processing, then are you having to keep up on new cameras, or are you kind of back-ending off of the macOS raw and then just enhancing that on your own?
Yeah, so there's a couple really great open source libraries that we're using for that.
Okay.
So luckily, we don't have to maintain that. And it's really great. Like the open source community is really kind of pitching in and making sure everyone can use those. So it's sort of a solved problem to support a lot of the raw files. So it's not too bad for us. Okay,
great. Well, we'll definitely get you on on another show at another time and have you show us that, because that sounds pretty exciting. I'd love to see it.
For sure.
Very good. All right, well, thanks for that. Okay, so that moves on to our next part of the show, which is the guest app pick. As you know, on this show, we always ask our guests to pick one of their favorite apps on any platform. Of course, it can't be their own app. So what app, other than your own, is on your list? What is one of your favorites?
Yeah, I really love this app called Average Night Cam, Night, N-I-T-E. And I love it because it created that really smooth photo that you saw in the beginning that I was editing. And what it does is it takes 1,000 frames. You can set it how many frames you want. And what it does is it averages each pixel out. So if you set up your phone on a tripod and you have like moving clouds, it will basically create like a long exposure type effect. It's not it's not like adding the pixels, so it's not making it brighter, but it's just averaging them out. So
Sure.
what you get is a very well exposed photo, but if there's movement, it gets really I mean, you can see the movement as like a blur or motion.
So it's the equivalent of a long exposure photo, putting an ND filter on your camera and doing a 5-second exposure or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so cool because you can do that with your iPhone and it looks amazing.
It's funny. I think that app's been around for quite a while, hasn't it?
It has. There's been a few. The very first one was called Average Cam Pro, and it was very old and it worked forever, but it was, I feel like the developers didn't really update it much. And then Average Night Cam came out like 2-3 years ago, maybe. And it's just an updated version of it. I feel like the image is a little more high quality when they save it out. But yeah, it's really impressive. The other really cool thing about it, the way that I used it in the beginning was the iPhone, especially in shadows when it's really dark, it gets a little noisy. And so what it does is it averages the noise out of the shadows.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm pretty sure that I have that app, or at least had it on at one point. So I'll have to go check and try. Do you remember offhand what it costs?
I don't. Okay. It's been a while.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Right on. We will put a link to that in the show notes. So anyone who is watching, you can check the show notes and you'll see a link to that. You can go ahead and grab that directly. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our guest portion of the show. So thank you very much, Arthur, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Before you jump off, where can our viewers find you on the socials and on the web?
Oh, yeah, sure. So me personally, I'm art_Cheng on Twitter. Art Cheng on Instagram without the underscore. For Priime, you can find us at Priime, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook /Priime.
And that's Priime with 2 I's, Priime.
That's right.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being on the show with us. Really appreciate your time. And as I said, we will reach out to you and talk to you about getting you on here again for the macOS version of it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you very much to Arthur for being on the show. That was impressive. That is a very, very cool app, and I am excited to have had him on the show. We always try and poke holes in the app and look for something that is missing, but the simple fact that this thing can handle such massively high-resolution images is very, very impressive to me, and I think that's a awesome feature, and the way that they've handled it is unique. The fact that they're tiling it out to make sure that they can take advantage of every last pixel of the camera that you shot with is truly impressive. So very glad to see that. The only kind of thing lacking right now is the iPad version of that, but clearly, as he said, they are working on that. They've already got a test version, so he didn't tell us when it's coming, but I would imagine that won't be too long away. So thank you all for watching this episode of This Week in Photo Apps. That brings us to the end of the episode. So I'm your host, Photo Joseph, and you can find me on the socials at Photo Joseph, as well as on my website at photoapps.expert. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and to visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com, where you can sign up for our email list and to be notified of new episodes and to get exclusive subscriber bonuses. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're watching on our website, you can subscribe to the show using the subscribe box on this page. If you have feedback on the show, suggestions, or comments, you can reach me, Photo Joseph, by simply clicking the contact button on the website. So be sure to do that and let us know what you think. And of course, finally, if you are a developer and would like to be a guest on the show, reach out using that same contact button. We're always looking for new guests. We want to see what apps you've got. And by popular request, if you're an Android developer, you have an Android app, we definitely want to get some Android stuff on here. So far, it's been Mac, Windows, and iOS. We haven't had an Android app on yet, so we'd love to get that. And that's it. So with that, it is time to put your lens cap back on and go edit some photos. Bye-bye.